Self-discipline is often misunderstood as a trait reserved only for naturally strong people, but psychology reveals a far more empowering truth. Discipline is not born, it is built. Behind every disciplined individual lies a complex and intentional mental architecture formed through habits, emotional management, structured goals, and controlled impulses. Human behavior is shaped by patterns, and when those patterns are consciously designed, self-discipline becomes a predictable outcome rather than a mysterious talent. Research shows that the brain thrives on repetition, and each action you take, especially the small ones, becomes a neural vote toward the person you are becoming. When people fail at discipline, it isn't because they are weak. It's because they are relying solely on willpower rather than designing their environment and mind to support their goals. The psychology of discipline teaches that structure beats motivation, clarity beats confusion, and identity beats emotion. Before any major transformation occurs, the mind must first accept a new identity. I am the type of person who does what needs to be done. This mental shift is the foundation upon which all consistent behavior is built. One of the strongest psychological drivers behind self-discipline is the relationship between reward, delay, and emotion. The human brain is hardwired to seek immediate comfort and avoid discomfort, which is why difficult tasks feel heavier than they truly are. However, people who develop strong discipline learn to reverse this instinct by attaching meaning to long-term rewards instead of short-term pleasure. Psychologists call this ability delayed gratification, famously demonstrated in the Stanford marshmallow experiment. Disciplined individuals create internal narratives that make future rewards feel emotionally valuable, almost as if they were happening in the present. This mental reframing helps override impulsive behavior. Instead of focusing on the pain of the moment, they focus on the benefit of the outcome, and that shift changes everything. The disciplined mind doesn't simply resist temptation. It consciously redefines what temptation means. It recognizes that every moment of discomfort is an investment, and every choice, however small, is a contribution to future strength, stability, and identity. Another psychological pillar of discipline is environmental design. Many people believe they fail due to laziness or lack of commitment, but in reality, humans subconsciously respond to their surroundings, often more than they realize. A person who wants to eat healthier but keeps junk food within reach is not failing due to a lack of willpower. They are failing because their environment contradicts their goals. Disciplined individuals reshape their surroundings to serve them rather than sabotage them. They remove triggers, simplify decisions, and create physical cues that guide behavior almost automatically. This process is known in psychology as choice architecture. By making the desired behavior easier and the undesired behavior harder, the mind becomes less dependent on motivation and more dependent on structure. The disciplined life is therefore not built through strength alone, but through intelligent organization. When your physical environment supports your goals, consistency becomes effortless and discipline becomes a natural extension of your lifestyle. Emotional regulation is another fundamental element in the psychology of self-discipline. Many failures in discipline occur not because a person lacks understanding or desire, but because they become overwhelmed by emotional impulses, stress, frustration, boredom, fear, or doubt. The disciplined mind learns to pause, observe the emotion without acting on it, and then respond intentionally. This technique, known as cognitive reframing, allows individuals to redirect the emotional energy into constructive behavior. Instead of collapsing under stress, they channel that stress into forward motion. Instead of letting boredom lead to procrastination, they use it as a signal to increase focus. Emotional mastery doesn't mean suppressing feelings, it means understanding them well enough that they no longer dictate behavior. This level of emotional intelligence ensures that discipline is maintained even during difficult moments. When emotions lose their control over your actions, discipline becomes not just possible but inevitable. Identity plays one of the most profound roles in determining whether a person becomes disciplined. Behavior driven by external pressure is temporary. but behavior driven by identity is lasting. When someone defines themselves as a disciplined person, their mind begins operating through that identity automatically. For instance, a person who sees themselves as an athlete will behave differently than someone who merely wants to get in shape. The athlete identity makes consistency feel natural rather than forced. This psychological phenomenon is powerful. The brain seeks alignment between actions and self-concept. When your identity says, "I am disciplined," your actions must follow in order to maintain internal harmony. This is why affirmations, visualization, and intentional self-definition are such powerful psychological tools. They rewire the mind to accept discipline as part of who you are, not something you struggle to achieve. Identity turns discipline from a challenge into a lifestyle. Habit formation is the mechanical engine of discipline. The human brain is designed to automate repeated behaviors so that it can conserve energy, meaning that anything done consistently becomes easier over time. Habits reduce the mental cost of action by turning difficult tasks into automatic routines. In psychology, this is explained through the habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. Disciplined individuals consciously create these loops. They choose powerful cues, establish consistent routines, and reward themselves in ways that reinforce the behavior. Over time, the habit becomes stronger than the excuses. This is why disciplined people appear to have limitless willpower. They don't rely on willpower at all. They rely on habits. Once a habit is formed, discipline becomes a passive process rather than an active struggle. The key is repetition. Even small, consistent actions accumulate into massive transformation. Clarity is another essential psychological factor. Without clear goals, the mind becomes fragmented and easily distracted. A disciplined person does not simply want to improve. They define exactly what improvement means. They choose specific actions, measurable outcomes, and realistic timelines. This clarity eliminates much of the emotional friction that causes procrastination. When the brain knows exactly what needs to be done, it stops negotiating with itself. Clarity reduces overwhelm and increases focus, making disciplined action feel smoother and more purposeful. Psychologists refer to this as goal precision, and it is one of the strongest predictors of long-term consistency. When the path is clear, discipline follows naturally. Self-compassion may seem unrelated to discipline, but psychology shows that it is absolutely essential. People who punish themselves for mistakes become more likely to quit, while those who forgive themselves maintain progress. The disciplined mind understands that failure is part of the process, not the end of it. Instead of spiraling into guilt, they analyze the mistake, adjust the strategy, and continue. This creates a mindset of growth rather than perfection. Self-compassion stabilizes discipline by removing emotional resistance. When failure no longer feels like a personal attack, the mind becomes more resilient and persistent. This allows discipline to grow gradually, consistently, and sustainably. Another psychological secret of disciplined individuals is that they minimize decision fatigue. The more decisions you make, the more your mental energy drains. Disciplined people simplify their choices by creating routines, schedules, and automatic behaviors. They don't waste energy deciding when to start. The plan is already set. This frees the mind to focus on execution rather than negotiation. When decision fatigue is reduced, willpower becomes stronger and discipline becomes more reliable. This strategic simplification is one of the most effective ways to maintain long-term consistency. Ultimately, the psychology of self-discipline reveals a profound truth. Discipline is not about being stronger than others. It is about understanding how the mind works and using that understanding to your advantage. Every disciplined person you admire has built their strength through systems, emotional intelligence, environmental control, habit formation, identity, and clarity. These principles are available to anyone willing to apply them. Discipline is not a mystery, it is a blueprint. And once you learn how to construct it, you gain the power to shape your life in ways you never thought possible. The disciplined mind becomes unstoppable, not because of force, but because of structure and intention.